Hi there, I'm Luke Hector and this is the Broken Meeple, a show where I rave and rant about board games, but usually more the latter. Although in the last few videos, maybe I've done more of the raving part, who knows. Well, this is Let's Go to Japan by AEG. Now, blimey, is this one getting a lot of buzz lately. I mean, it's already come out with a lot of positive reviews. I see it on social media a lot. People are sort of going, oh yeah, this is such a lovely, light, fluffy game and that. And then a bunch of people were also saying, Luke, I think you're going to have problems with this one. It's like, okay, why? I mean, it's AEG, it's got a fluffy theme. I like Japan. I would love to go to Japan. I don't think I'll ever go to Japan in my lifetime, but I would certainly like to go there. 45 minutes, 1 to 4 players. I mean, how bad could it be? You know, I thought I'd give this one a shot.
Do it, do it, do it.
In Let's Go to Japan, you are essentially planning your week in Japan. You each have a player board with different days of the week, Monday through Saturday, and some scoring tracks where these markers will be placed on the track at 0, and then there'll be some randomized ones down at the bottom for each day that everybody has to match. What happens is that during the game, via this turn order track effectively that tracks throughout the whole game, you will draw and pass so many of these cards. There are a bunch here for Tokyo with the blue background and a bunch here for Kyoto with the pink background. But essentially they are, for the most part, unique, although there are some duplicates, of lots of different things that you could do in Japan. Take a hike outside of town, Tokyo Station, the Zojoji Temple, I don't know what that is, the Goto Kuji Temple. Yeah, if you've got any idea of geography of Japan, then you're going to have a field day with some of this. Otherwise, read the flavor text, because let's face it, I do not know most of the stuff that's in here. But, you know, you catch a kabuki show, stay at a really nice hotel, visit a rescue cat cafe. I would love to go to a cat cafe, that'd be really cool. Grab some street food, conveyor belt sushi, you know, capsule hotel, Imperial Palace Gardens, you know, all these different things that you could possibly do in Japan. But the idea is that you will draw so many of these cards, typically one from each deck, and you have to decide where they go underneath your board. So I've already got a bunch laid out here, and essentially what you're trying to do is create columns of free cards, and the columns you can create how you like, but there is a pro and con to doing it in certain ways. If you place cards down that have the matching icon at the top to whatever day it is, so if I've got this blue speech bubble here and I put another one down there, once I fill the whole column with free cards, I will score some bonuses based on how many of them match. So there's one incentive. There's also the incentive that visiting Tokyo and Kyoto requires you to take a train, and if you have to take the train too often and you don't have enough train tokens by the end of the game, you're actually going to lose points rather than gain them. So you kind of want to group a bunch of your pinks together, a bunch of your blues together, and not constantly have to shuffle back and forth, because let's face it, if you were to go on a trip, that would be really annoying. And the other thing you do is obviously you consider the bonuses at the top of the card in general. Some of them will move markers on here, like your mood track. Some of them will get you more bonuses. And also you need to be very mindful of the one at the very bottom, which is essentially your highlight of the day. Like I've got this trip planned for Wednesday, and the highlight of the day is that I'm going to go visit the Heian Shrine. I have no idea what these places are. But the idea is that at the bottom of these highlights of the day, you've got a prerequisite to meet, and if you do, you get points and more bonuses. So the whole game basically stems from creating 6 different columns of free cards in such a way that in sequence, they will score you the most points. And most of the points are scored via your mood track, which is basically the more happy and cheap the experience is versus how expensive or stressful it is. You know, the net effect's going to give you points, but primarily you're going to get it by leveling up your special markers on this track here. They start off at 0, but every time you match, you know, every time you score for them when you go through the scoring phase, these will move up the track and they'll score points at the end of the game for being at certain spots. And then there's victory points on the cards themselves, so naturally they are weighted slightly differently. When I played my first game of this, like my first solo game, I was a bit like, what exactly did I just play here? Because this is a very weird game. It's almost not a game in some respect. Because basically the main thought process you have at any point is just, I've got 2 cards here, maybe 4 cards, you know, depending on what I've drawn, and I've just got to decide, right, I'll place this one on Wednesday, this one on Friday, do I want to place it at the top, middle, or bottom of the column, and I'll pass these along. That's basically your whole turn sequence and thought process. The bonus is, yeah, you'll grab them as and when, and some are certainly better than others, I think, but for the most part, it's just a case of how efficiently am I going to play these cards. It's not rocket science as to where the cards are going to go, though. It's not like you've got to think very hard. This is definitely a light game, but it's, you know, most of the game that you play is literally just, I'll take some cards and put them down. I'll take some cards and put them down. I'll take some cards and put them down. That's the game. That is all the game. Most of the stuff you do in terms of how well you do doesn't take place until the actual scoring phase. This is one of those games where you play a bunch of cards arbitrarily, not entirely knowing if it's going to go well or not, and then when the scoring phase happens, you go through the entire sequence from Monday to Saturday, moving these markers up, seeing if you've qualified for highlight of day, move to the next day, get some bonuses, move these markers up more, see if you've got the next highlight of the day, and basically, you go through the scoring phase for every single day, and then total up all the points on a fairly lengthy score sheet. And it kind of feels a little bit weird to tell if I like it or not, because most of it is just playing cards, and the rest of it is just scoring. And to like this game, I feel like from what I've heard people say when they say, oh yeah, I really like this is great for me, there's two categories I tend to notice. Firstly, it's the nostalgia crowd, or, well, I suppose not nostalgia, the ones who are just gagging for, I want to go to Japan, or I have been to Japan and I now recognize all the places on here. Well, fair enough, that will add to the fluff nature of the game, but, I want to go to Japan. I like Japan. I would like to go there. That doesn't necessarily make me love the game extra just because I want to go to the country that this one's featured on. It just means that the aesthetics are good with the artwork. And the aesthetics for this game are fantastic, I will admit. This is a retail copy of the game, so there's no fancy, weird porcelain bowls and God knows what else that other people have got. But you still get some chunky cardboard markers. You've still got a very big, board that's easy to tell where everything is. And believe me, when you've got 4 of these laid out, or even 2 here that I've got for the solo mode, it is a bit of a table hog. But, the cards are huge size. I think these are 7 Wonders style cards. I mean, they are basically pretty big. With good graphic design, it's easy to tell what's what, and interesting artwork across them. I mean, it's a very beautiful, well-produced game, even for a retail copy, and not crazy expensive. I mean, it's not the cheapest game either, but it's still not crazy expensive. But there's that first group of, I want to go to Japan so badly, therefore I seem to have a thing or a connection to this game. Fair enough. But then there's another category of gamers I've noticed who really like this. The ones who love the scoring phase. This is not a category I subscribe to. Scoring is an admin phase. It's what you do at the end of the game to work out if every bit of fun or interesting stuff you did during the game amounts to anything. Assuming that the game doesn't let you score throughout and you can tell how you're doing. This one hides all the scoring from you until the very end, and then you find out if you won or not. And honestly, you will not be able to gauge if somebody's done well or not, because it's pretty much impossible to tell until you get to the end, which adds a little bit of tension, which is kind of a good thing. But all the interesting stuff with the tracks and whether you've got all your highlight of the day bonuses and stuff doesn't happen until a scoring admin phase. And there are these people that love scoring. They love scoring in games, and it's the thing for them. I don't get a kick out of scoring. I mean, for these people, I challenge them to go play a game of Forest Shuffle with 4 or 5 players. Tell me you enjoy scoring after you play that. Yeah, have fun with that. And a lot of the theme is injected by players, because they say that you get to the end of the game and you go, oh yeah, but now I get to talk about the trip I did, and that'll be fun, yeah. Okay, well, firstly, that is you injecting the fun into the game, not the game itself. Secondly, when we're talking about these trips that we're doing, I mean, let's just take the few that I got here or something, like these few days. Okay, so let's see, Sunday I found a secluded temple at Todoroki Valley Park. Then before that I went to a geisha show at Gion Corner and revered the tradition. Then I went to Nijo Castle, toured the gardens, and then I ate ramen at the best place and savored the rich miso flavor. Is that interesting or fun or humorous to you? I mean, it's literally just flavor text on a card. It was a case of, did I get the bonuses and the victory points I wanted? Now, if you want that sort of thing of yeah, but you're telling the story of what you did at the end, isn't that cool? That is cool if you do it in something like Pursuit of Happiness, the game of life, the Euro game, basically. Because in that one, it's silly, it's humorous, the stuff that you end up doing for your life is wildly over the top and crazy. I mean, one minute you're helping dogs at a local rescue home, and the next you're a ninja biker gang leader who keeps a spare collection of AK-47s in his back, also likes wargaming, is dating a girl called Denise who is constantly asking for more cash and has a job as a coffee barista. I don't know. I mean, it's so messed up and weird and all over the shop that talking about your story in that one is funny and humorous. So that's cool. But there's nothing funny or humorous in here. I went to a temple one day, ate ramen the next. I beat up some dude with some bamboo the other day. I don't know, but it's not. I don't get that whole idea. So with this game, it basically just is cards. Play a few cards, see if it does well or not, because you can't gauge if it is or not. And multiplayer is complete waste of time. There is no way you should be playing multiplayer in this game, because all that happens with another player is that when you pick up these cards, you choose, I'm going to pass these to you. You have no idea how well they're doing, or whether the cards are going to be great for them or not. You've got your own thing to worry about, so there is no scope for any kind of hate drafting whatsoever. So I am literally just looking at my cards and going, that's good for me, that's good for me, yeah, you take these two, yeah, have fun with that. Otherwise, they might as well not even be sitting at the table. In a two-player, it's not too bad, because you do have an element of, well, I've just passed you these cards. Eventually, you're going to draw that pass palm, and then you're going to give some of them back. So maybe I'll see some of the cards I gave you a little bit earlier back again. I don't think that happens as much in a 3 and 4 player game, but certainly in a 2-player game, you can get an element of that. So I can certainly say that maybe 2 players is okay to play this for multiplayer, even though you are still mainly just playing your solitaire game. But you do at least have a solo mode in here, so you can play it solo. But the solo mode is basically just, I do what I like to do, and whichever cards I pass, I just put underneath their board, and we see how they score at the end and see whether I scored higher. Again, you can't really gauge what points they're going to get, unless you're really overthinking this. And so when I get to the end, I mean, to be fair, the points are fairly close. The last one I played was 129 to 127. I only won by 2 points. But I didn't really feel like I could do a huge amount against the AI to stop them scoring points, because you put everything in a column, and apart from the highlights of the days, that's pretty much the only thing that you can really mess around with, because they don't care about the train travel thing or half of the other bits in the game. It's literally just scoring on the tracks. Woe betide you if you want to play this on any harder setting, difficulty-wise, because you're just asking for it then. You're asking to get absolutely creamed. There's choices you can make, and that's going to affect whether you do well, but for the most part, it's kind of dumb choice and right choice. It's like, oh, I don't know, should I put the pink with a blue, with another pink, and with another blue? No, because that's moronic. You would never do that in the game, so really, it's just mainly a case of, right, can I shove the same, top bonus on the day that happens to have that bonus, because that's going to get me more stuff, and naturally, I'll probably do better as a result. It's not rocket science for what is, and I know it's a light game, it's not gateway level, but it's certainly light and fluffy, although, cool blimey, does this rulebook make a pig's ear of it? Jesus! I mean, this is a 16-page rulebook, right, to cover a game that is basically just put cards in columns and score at the end. How the hell did they manage to do this? This rulebook manages to somehow take what is a light, fluffy, next step level game and turn it into a full-fledged mid-level Euro or something, because it's not only quite text heavy throughout, and to be fair, they do give you a decent amount of examples for stuff in that, but there's quite a lot of rules in here to absorb, and it's laid out in this weird fashion where you've got the card anatomy first, fine, then you go into round order and what you're doing, but then it goes into what the various bits of scoring happen at the end, when this is kind of information you really need to know ahead of time. And, there is a tutorial you can watch from AEG that actually has the, rules explained, except for some reason they have it upside down. I mean, read the comments, everybody comments on this, but basically it's done from the person's perspective, the wrong way up, with most of the bottom half of the screen not in use, and it goes at super speed. I mean, as tutorials go, it's not particularly good, I'm afraid, AEG. It needs to be a lot better than that. But, I mean, the right way up for a kickoff, seriously. But yeah, it's for something that is meant to be super simple, this rulebook overcomplicates it like crazy. It just makes it a bit of a chore to try and learn it when it really shouldn't be. Be sure to have someone teach you the game, really, rather than try and absorb this rulebook, because it's just asking for it. Now, you do get a couple of mini expansions that you can grab. You can have the best day trips in Japan, which basically adds a chance to go visit stuff on Sunday, and you've got another couple of bonuses to go around. That's if you want to make it a little bit meatier. It's fine, I can take or leave it, but for something that's meant to be fairly light and fluffy, I just prefer to use the normal thing. And Let's Grab Your Passport basically gives you some cool special ability, but it makes the solo start a little bit higher to compensate. But yeah, it's cool that you've got something that helps you aim for stuff. I mean, you could throw this to a new player and say, okay, you scored double the points for your happiness and your stress token. Okay, so they know that during the game they need to focus a lot on happiness and stress, so these work quite well for teaching a player and getting them to focus on one particular aspect. but the scoring takes longer than the game does. And the scoring's not what I come for. You know, I could be playing this game for about 15-20 minutes in solo mode by putting the cards down, because I don't need to think that hard about where they go. And then it will probably take me another 15 minutes just to score the game for myself and the AI. I've got to do it twice over. Woe betide you want to do this in multiplayer, where you've got to trust that people know how to score their own thing, or stay there for ages while you score each individual Monday through Saturday week. It just takes forever. It's not quite Forest Shuffle bad, but it's getting to that point. So I'm kind of hard pressed to think with this one. It's not a bad game. It's not even, I would say, even like a below average game. It's still fine. It does the job, and I can see people enjoying it, but you know, the replay value is going to be limited, because basically it's just what bonuses do the cards do, and are you going to focus heavily on track movement, or are you going to focus heavily on your happiness level? That's basically the two routes you go in the game. Really, there's not really much else from a strategy tactics perspective, and you sort of finish it and you just go, oh, well, that was a thing. And you know, I wish I'd spent more time playing it than actually scoring it, because that took me a fair while. So I'm coming into this one with a 5 out of 10. It's an average game. I don't dislike it. I don't overly get excited by it either. It's nice and light, but if I want to play a light, fluffy game that doesn't take me long to play, I'm sooner going to play something like Cascadia, for example. You know, something like that, or you know, other light games that are just like, you know, they give me, you know, something good for 30 minutes, doesn't take me 10 minutes to score the whole thing, and I still get a fairly light game in a quick time. This one, you know, you've got to set up quite a bit to begin with. You've got to go through that rule book on your first couple of games and, you know, really remember, why is it overcomplicating everything? The multiplayer is kind of pointless, and the solo mode, you've got to set up their entire board, and then you've got to score it all on top of yours. Scoring is not the fun part of the game. It's an admin part, and if you're in that category that enjoys scoring, then fine. If you want to explain to everybody what trip you did, then fine. I'd rather do that in something humorous like Pursuit of Happiness, but you know, I get that some people are going to like the game, but where I'm seeing 8s and 9s, you know, 9 out of 10s and 10 out of 10s from people, I don't quite get what game you're playing here, or why you love scoring so much that elevates the game for you. But, you know, for me, it's an average game. It's fine. I will play it if somebody wants to play it for a 30-minute... Well, actually, to be fair, no. I mean, I'll play it now and again solo, yeah, maybe 2-player, but I wouldn't really want to play this 3 or 4-player, because I'd just be like, can we do something a bit more interactive, or something that doesn't, like, you know, take 45 minutes to play the game, of which 25 minutes of that is scoring? You know, so, all right, maybe that's a bit extreme, but still, it takes a good third of the game, or, you know, as long as the game does to score. It is kind of ridiculous. So, yeah, it's average. It exists, but I could think I'd rather play some other stuff solo, really. So that's it for me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then thumb it up on YouTube and thumb it up on Board Game Geek when it goes live on the page. Check out the rest of my Essen content. I've been doing quite a lot, but hopefully either before or after this one, you're going to see the Unconscious Mind review, so by all means check that out. But I've done Black Forest and SETI as well for some big ones, and plenty of other games, including some other AEG fare besides. And actually, have I got any more AEG games to do? No, I think I might be done. I don't know, I kind of think there's 1 or 2 other AEG games I got. I did get quite a few, so I've been doing quite a few of their games. But by all means, check them out. Let me know your thoughts on this one, because I think this is going to be a very divisive video, you know, where some are going to, like, hate this game, some are going to love it. I fall somewhere in the middle. I neither love it nor hate it. You know, average is still a game I will play, and I still see some merits for this. I just don't quite get the supreme love for it, you know. I think it just depends which category you fall under. But by all means, let me know your thoughts. It'll be interesting to read and collate and, you know, discuss nicely. So take care, and remember, regardless if you're one of the lucky ones who ever got to visit Japan or not, it's still only a game. I can only pray that I'll ever visit Japan. Lovely country, just maybe not the best game for it. Take care, and bye for now.